Welcome to you, Jerry. Welcome to our audience. We have a global audience, I hope, this morning for us here on the East Coast, and then morning also on the West Coast and throughout the continental US. And then in India, we are actually at 8:30 in the evening. So we will probably have, I hope, a lot of folks joining from there as well. So welcome to everybody. And most importantly, welcome to my guest today, Jerry Valerio. You are a friend, a colleague, a mentor for, I think, 2 decades now. And it is a pleasure to have you on this live Ask Me Anything session. And I'm so glad that we connected. We've been in touch, but I'm glad that we reconnected. And the idea of creating, co-creating, discussing, and just seeing how where our paths have taken us, and then how we've reconnected. We've talked about this. So welcome.
Thank you. I feel honored. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. So just for our audience here, I wanted to talk a little bit about Jerry and his background. So Jerry is a seasoned technology business leader, has experience in management consulting, professional services, and sales. And you have managed high-performing teams, consistently driving exceptional results and rapid growth. You've held roles both as a first-line manager and also as a second-line director and manager, and focusing on everything data. So data meaning through analytics, automation, business intelligence, data protection, security, data science, enterprise applications, integration technologies, and then also software as a service. So we are in the world of SaaS. And definitely your range of experience, it goes through the spectrum. So throughout your career, Jerry, you've been recognized for your commitment to excellence, and then always striving to bring out the best in yourself and your team. I can vouch for that. So thank you for doing what you do on a day-to-day basis. But also, I wanted to mention that you are a certified business, career, and life coach, and you are dedicated to helping aspiring career professionals and entrepreneurs achieve their dreams and goals. Your certifications include the Avalon Empowerment and Transform Destiny. You are a practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, and then a practitioner of TIME, TIME, the timeline therapy, and also a clinical hypnotherapist. I mean, Jerry, the list goes on. I don't even know if we have time we can talk about the entire half hour and still be talking about your bio. So tell us a little bit about what I have missed, and what were the salient points or the turning points in your journey from tech to becoming a career and life coach?
Sure. So as you had mentioned, we've known each other for now 2 decades. And during those 2 decades, I've had the good fortune of having been at several startups and then also a couple of scale-ups. And I think that experience in itself was very enriching in the sense of being able to be in an individual contributor role to also finding opportunities to be a leader and manager. I still am in the corporate world, but I am also now in the entrepreneurial world with my coaching business, which is a passion pursuit in the after hours. So I have my day job, and I have also the so to speak, the non-day job where I spend time helping others level up. So that insight came over the past year. So as with many people in the tech sector, there were people affected by, kind of all of the downsizing, restructuring. And I was one of those individuals. And while, initially getting laid off is never a fun thing, it became the blessing in disguise when I found out that, I used that time to like go on my own journey of discovery and understanding, what do I want the next chapter in my life to look like? So I'm in that transition point where I get to be someone still in the corporate world. And, coincidentally, I've actually chosen intentionally to choose an individual contributor role because that also gives me the freedom to like, at the end of the day, focus on anything else that is mine. So for me right now, it's critically important, as well as I think for a lot of people, that I'm hearing about work-life balance, right? So work-life
Yeah.
balance is more about taking care of yourself, having the grace to forgive yourself for when, things go wrong or not right, and just learn from it so that you could, continue, each of us on our own journey.
So true. You mentioned the grace to forgive yourself. It is so important to be forgiving of yourself. So my next question, comment, essentially is, how does this investment in oneself help the customer downstream? So self-development is important. Forgiving yourself is important. How does that have an impact on the customer?
So one of the things I've recognized, and again, I appreciate that when we reconnected, I had no idea about the impact I had on you, but it really boils down to when we learn to level up ourselves and become the very best version of ourselves, then that gives us, permission to then fully focus on the customer and leverage who we are, our authenticity, our strengths to give the customer, the full attention. And that goes back to, you can't be the best version of yourself to a customer unless you also first focus on yourself. So in other words, it's important to, have self-care, have self-development so that you are feeling, your best self when you bring yourself to working with customers and, whether it's in sales or customer success function.
And then being an individual contributor versus being a manager, which of these roles has allowed you to better shape not just your teams or yourself as an individual, but also your customers' journey? Which one is more satisfying?
So I think there's different areas for each. Like in an individual contributor role, what's satisfying is the ability to like focus on yourself and your own growth.
Mm-hmm.
And when you become a leader manager, what's more satisfying is helping others on their journey, level up. I'm excited when I'm able to help someone achieve like their own promotion to the next level and then helping them grow in that capacity. So, I think one of the things as a leader and manager is seeing the full potential in others. And then when you're an individual contributor, it's seeing your full potential and recognizing and realizing it.
100%. Couldn't agree more with that statement. So recognizing your own ability to develop your skills and then have that selfless leader or a servant leader, as you often said, and then who allows you to develop your potential. And then this in turn, I truly believe this helps when we are bringing our best self to the conversation. We tend to then not focus on ourself, but on the future. So we have that outward look, which allows us to shape the customer's journey. So there is definitely that downstream impact. So specifically, your contributions, you've led solutions engineering teams with large multinational companies. And your experience has been on the pre-sales side of things as well as on the post-sales side. So you've worked with customer success teams throughout your career, of course, but then or customer focus teams throughout your career, but customer success specifically in your role as a solutions engineering leader and manager. So let's take it a step back. I want to talk about whether there can be true collaboration, but let's take a step back and talk about the origin of customer success, the relevance in the world of SaaS, specifically because when you are thinking about a subscription journey, a subscription life cycle, you intend not only to bring a customer through the door, but also to retain them continuously over and over. So nurturing that relationship is key. And in your words, I think we had a great conversation where you talked about, let's talk about where CS actually comes into the picture. So take us through that, Jerry.
Sure. So, when the subscription as a service model came into existence, that was the realization across the industry that there needed to be some degree of specialized attention to the customer in retaining them, because the thought is, well, now that we've moved to a subscription model, customers are not obligated to renew. They could easily choose to switch if for whatever reason they're dissatisfied. Now, how that came to be in terms of customer success, prior to that, sales and solution engineers were the ones that were responsible for the customer experience post-sales. And as is always the case, you're always looking for that next opportunity to be able to, upsell, cross-sell the customer. And then again, when subscription as a service came into play, it made sense to split that function into two. So you had sales engineer, pre-sales, solution engineer focus on the pre-sale aspect, and then you had customer success focus on post-sales aspect. And what I'm finding now is, and so let's say that was around the mid to late 2000s. Now that we're in the mid 2020s, I'm actually seeing things coming full circle, which is organizations split the two functions into two organizations, but they're, in some cases, they're now being reunited under a single, chief customer organization. So you're now getting to see pre-sales and post-sales working together. And in fact, I think one of the things we talked about previously is how certain functions like the discovery, in terms of, identifying customer needs and requirements, is a function that is never done. It basically starts in pre-sales and continues in customer success. And it's important for both teams to work together to demonstrate an understanding of the customer's needs, as well as, what their vision is and helping that vision come to reality.
So true. I've said this for the longest time, that to the customer, they don't care who is helping them accomplish their outcomes. They expect that if they have shared what their intention is, the pre-sales team versus the post-sales team versus the CSM, it doesn't really matter. They need an outcome from their investment, and it is up to us as the vendor to make sure that their experience is seamless. And so in the realm of activities or the process that needs to be followed, what is that activity? What is the most defining action that provides that seamless experience from pre-sales to post-sales?
So it's the continuous discovery process. So that starts with the first interaction with the customer, but then it continues, right? Because once they're on board, it's also continuing to support them, give them an experience that shows that we're there as a partner, not just purely as a vendor that, once the sale is done, we're gone, right? That's not the case anymore, especially with the subscription as a service model.
Very true. But you and I both know we've been a part of organizations where that experience is not seamless, and good intentions notwithstanding, the plan doesn't always get followed as it's intended to be. So does an organization's leadership then have a hand in ensuring that this collaboration, this interdepartmental collaboration, or handoffs from pre-sales to post-sales, or inclusion of post-sales teams into the pre-sales process, what role does the organization's leadership have?
So the leadership has the responsibility to create that like you said, that seamless experience for the customer by unifying both the pre-sales and the post-sales teams together, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think organizations where you don't have that type of experience in the leadership often results in very siloed functions, and then
Yeah.
that is missed opportunity for the customer because now they don't feel like they're being handled by the same people. They just feel like they're being passed off from one person to the other.
Right. It's the passing the hot potato effect versus actually being a partner to them. And I think that completely deteriorates the intention or the nature of the relationship going further. That's the start of the downfall, in my opinion. Um, Large organizations versus small organizations. Where do you see this collaboration happening better?
I would say larger organizations, mostly because they have the resources and the dollars to put behind the teams that support
Yeah.
that. And you also recognize, when you have larger organizations, you're also often talking more about a mature organization where they've already got enterprise sales and as well as commercial small medium businesses, whereas smaller organizations, they're probably just in startup mode yet, and they're still um understanding what type of investment they need to make, right? So often this is the case. They're still more worried about we need to generate the revenue more than about the um investing in the entire life cycle experience, right? Because for them it's first about surviving and thriving before they can go and scale. So larger enterprises tend to be more in the scale mode, which understand the importance of investing, whereas the startups, that's less of a priority. They just need to get to the point where, okay, we're on solid momentum and we can now focus on scaling as well, including the investments in customer success and pre-sales and uniting both functions seamlessly.
So what I'm hearing then is that there is an opportunity, though, where people are wearing multiple hats, but there is an opportunity for those multiple roles to come to the table and actually develop that customer success mindset so that in the future they can follow through on not just getting through the motions, but actually thinking about the outcome for the customer. Would
I
you agree with
100%
that?
agree. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. The large organizations, I agree, they have the resources, they have the dollars. Sometimes I feel like they can get in their own way with the amount of process and the red tape that you need to jump or go through just to get to um, perhaps scheduling something for the customer, just to get to a desired outcome.
Yep.
Um, and I feel like that piece of it is handled better with smaller organizations as long as they have their focus correct. And the focus is always, the center is always, it's always about the customer. Um, in Specifically in working with a customer success team, what has been your specific experience or your team's specific experience?
So I've seen the entire spectrum of from silo to unified. Um,
Okay.
again, once an organization realizes, oh, we need a customer success function, there's
Yeah.
kind of that maturity curve, right? Where the first stage or two is about just understanding the roles and responsibilities and defining the function.
Yeah.
And then as you move to, like, I don't know, mid maturity, now you want to start focusing on like optimizing, right? Which optimizing means how do we foster greater collaboration across the entire customer experience, customer journey by looking at pre-sales and post-sales as a unified experience, and identifying the processes like, discovery, that helps both organizations do their role, but also collaborate more powerfully with their counterparts across customer success and sales engineering.
That's awesome. And then a question actually from the audience here. What are the common pitfalls? So Vinita asked, what are the common pitfalls in this post-sales transition and how can they be avoided?
So probably the most obvious one is under communication, right?
Yeah.
So ensuring that there is either shared documentation or otherwise a regularly scheduled customer-centric meeting for all teams that touch the customer. So that could include pre-sales, that could include technical account management, could include also customer support, education, technical supports, as well as consulting services. The whole point being, as long as everyone has a picture, the same picture of the customer and knows where the challenges are, then each function, as you had said, can be an enabler of success for the customer, no matter what the role is.
So mapping out that journey or the touch points and who comes in and who goes out, what are the entry and exit criteria, not just for the activity, but also the roles that need to be involved at
Yep.
that specific point in time, I think. Is that what you're alluding to here?
Yep. Basically, it's coordinated across all of the different teams with the intention of, everyone having the same picture. Over communicating is preferred over under communicating, just to ensure that, there are no gaps.
The number of times I've heard this, over communicate, and yet so often we forget to communicate when push comes to it. That just completely changes the experience and the outcome. So thank you for that. One interesting ask from Desmond, can you share a success story where sales engineering and customer success collaboration has led to a significant customer win?
So where I see actually the strongest, and this is not a surprise, the strongest collaboration and coordination is based on actually the size of the deal. Almost every single deal where you're talking about $1 million plus, there is a lot of, like, I'll say, customer touch points over communication. There's actually a better communication of the value to the customer. So the other function I've seen surfacing in many software as a services is you now have the concept of, well, we need to have a value engineering team. And that value engineering team often connects with at the CXO level, understands all of the industry circumstances driving the decision to make a large scale purchase. So that's basically what's helping tighten the collaboration across customer success, sales engineering, and the customer, because of the size of the deals. And that's not surprising, right? Because at the end of the
That's not
day,
surprising at all. Does
you're
that
still
drive product roadmap? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, no. You're right. So that does also drive product roadmap, right? Your largest customers will tend to have the largest voices. Money does speak inside a software organization that operates as a SaaS model.
And then this goes back to the initial point where you made about the resources and having the ability. So yes, money does speak, and then that feeds into all of the pre and post sales business processes, even to the extent where even the roadmaps tend to be aligned, just so the end outcome is beneficial, is symbiotic to both the vendor as well as the customer. The adaptation of the rapid evolution of SaaS products. So Desmond had another question. So how can sales engineering and customer success teams adapt to the rapid evolution? So we are seeing today people talked about even customer success, Jerry, from the time that I started learning it, practicing it, and to what I've been doing over the last 4 or 5 years is completely different. The our standard approach to hand somebody a patch and have them follow through certain 5 different steps in the life cycle, that doesn't exist anymore. It's more about what the business drivers are and what the intended outcome. How can we provide rapid time to value to the customer? So in that regard, there's evolution of the products themselves. So how do sales, engineering, and customer success teams adapt to that?
So this is where I feel strongly about we can't just stay within our own organizations and expect to evolve and keep up with the trends in the industry. This is where outside organizations that are now driving, I'll call it cross-pollination across companies, across industries, across countries.
Yeah.
So organizations like, the Customer Success Collective or the Pre-Sales Collective,
Yep.
or similar types of professional organizations are critical for anyone in the field to, get plugged in, stay in touch, engage with your peers across other companies, as well as, within that community to understand what are the trends, to get ahead of that, to also evolve your own role in your own company. That's also an opportunity for individuals to create their own professional brand outside of the company, as well as to be a thought leader in the space of either customer success or pre-sales.
And we're seeing more and more of that, isn't it? Even thought leadership is taking root in so many different ways, so many different forms, and it is focused on the outcome-based model that had been intended or set up for customer success way long back. But it is now coming to practice and fruition on steroids.
100%.
Are you tracking what's happening in the world of AI and how that is impacting the SE and CS organizations? The SE is probably quicker because it directly leads to product adoption. But how does this impact the world of AI and what's the things that are happening almost on a daily and weekly basis, the changes that are happening? How does that impact the collaboration between pre-sales, post-sales, and then how does that extend to the customer?
So AI is so pervasive. It's not just only a focus on what's in the product, right? It's also within our own organizations, like, for example, Own Data, the company that I work for in my corporate function, they've designated an individual to be kind of the AI thought leader and figure out how can we use AI to improve efficiency, effectiveness, productivity across the organization. The whole concept of how can we use AI as a force multiplier, right?
Yeah.
And even within my own company, the whole saying about doing more with less, and that's where AI is going to help us do that. It's also, I would say, something that each and every one of us should embrace, because it's not going away. And so the question becomes, what can I learn about the use of AI in my own function, in my own role? And there are many ways to do that, using organizations like Coursera to find certification programs through universities. I joined Section School, or section.com, and they have a track around AI. So AI for business, AI for sales, AI for marketing, AI for prompt writing. And so I love these little, they're often like 90 minutes, 2 hours of a thought leader talking about how do you leverage, the different AI technologies to improve your function, whatever that might be. So I would expect to see more, not only companies, organizations, just, different tools and technologies that can be applied in any role that we're in to help us, be more impactful to the benefit, in the short term and in the long term for our customer.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not going away. The sooner we learn to embrace it and do more with it, I think it will help us propel our activities that are more focused and help us drive towards our outcomes faster and then powered by AI, so to speak. you have co-authored a book, The Mastery of the Mind. Tell us a little bit about that.
So that was an endeavor as I was moving into the coaching space, and the community that I'm a part of, Transform Destiny, invited people in the community. If you would love to be an co-author of a book, raise your hand. And so the book is around mastery of the mind from different perspectives. There's chapters on parenting, there's chapters on health and wellness, there's chapters on mindset. Mine in particular was around mindset. So
Yeah.
I have a motto that came into existence for me last year, basically igniting growth in yourself inspires transformation in others. And that again is a practice that I've always done by leveling up and becoming the very best version of myself, inspires others to do the same. And you're also an example of that. Like, I had no idea that the way that I led as a servant leader became also your aspiration, and that's something you embraced in how you lead as a leader and a people manager as well.
100%. The impact that you have on somebody, you can't always see it, but then it delivers itself in how, or renders itself in how they then carry forward the torch in the way that they live. I've always maintained that you can be a leader in any seat, so that learning that you are now promoting your self development, self training, embracing technology, embracing the good outcomes that AI brings to the table, so that you can then deliver the outcomes that you desire for the customer. All of these things, Jerry, I think when we worked together, there were so many occasions where we could have just thrown our hands up in the air and decided that, okay, this is it. There's no way we can fix this. But we hunkered down, rolled up our sleeves, and the curveballs kept coming, but we just dealt with them. And I think that, in a sense, that leadership quality brings the calm and the composure to the rest of the team. And then you, as a mentee or as a team member, assimilate that and then carry that torch forward. You learn that that's how you have to lead as well. Thank you for that. And then we are at time, but I did want to ask you, if there was one thing, a couple of things that you wanted somebody to take away, you wanted our audience to take away from this conversation, what would that be?
So I think you said it best, that regardless of the role or the seat we sit in, we are all part of customer success. And you also said it, and I'll say it too, right? Leaders, great leaders, don't just lead teams, they create other leaders.
Yes. Thank you, Jerry. It has been a pleasure hosting you today and having you. Let's do this again. I would love to dive deeper and maybe take a section of our conversation and then hone into that a little bit further. So anytime you want to come back, we can have another conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll take you up on that offer in the future. And I feel, again, honored and grateful for you inviting me today. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks to our audience. You heard it live from Jerry Valerio, a seasoned solutions engineering leader, career life coach. And if you want to know a little bit more about what he does and offers, please go to jerryvalerio.com and you'll see everything I've shared about his background and what how he can help as well. So with that, thanks to my audience. It's been a pleasure having you, Jerry, and it's been a pleasure having our audience listening in. And my deepest thanks to the Thinkly team for making sure this experience and these talks go seamlessly.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.